welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano, and on today's program, we will get some life-saving tips from the director of the aquatics program at the South Shore YMCA here in Quincy. Ken Berardi is our guest coming up. First, though, we check weather and news for you. Currently in Quincy, it is a nasty one out there. We have wind-swept drizzle and mist. It's only 60 degrees. We'll have scattered showers off and on throughout the day today. Highs only in the low 60s, a real raw, damp day. Not much improvement tonight. Some lingering showers, lows only around 59 or so. And the first half of the holiday weekend not looking so good either. Off and on rain tomorrow. Could be some heavy downpours actually tomorrow afternoon with highs only in the low 60s. Things will start to improve Sunday afternoon after some morning rain. Sunday's highs into the mid 60s. Monday looks nice right now, partly cloudy. The high near 80, could be back up to 90 degrees by Tuesday, but until then we are cool and damp. Again, 60 in Quincy right now. In the news today, City of Quincy is moving ahead with plans to purchase the Monroe Building in Quincy Center. Mayor Thomas Koch says the city will pursue a friendly taking of the building using half of the $10 million in federal grant money that was awarded to Quincy College recently. Mayor says the building can be used for the college, for city offices, and a visitors welcome center.
Just controlling the parcel at this point is extremely important. Whether we do the college down the road or it doesn't come together, it'll allow us to do other commercial development there with a developer rather than just getting, a 10 or 12-story apartment building. We've got a number of residential buildings, which is fine, but I think this space calls for something different. And the only way we're going to control that is if we control the property.
The mayor says earlier plans to tear down the building and replace it with a 15-story new building are on the back burner for now in the face of city council opposition. Mayor says the building is a key part of the redevelopment of Quincy Center. Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch says the city will pull back on plans to build a footbridge to Pine Island in Blacks Creek. Mayor says his administration will suspend plans for that 450-foot-long boardwalk in the face of intense resident opposition. Koch says the footbridge plan was part of the overall Marymount Park master plan that was approved several years ago. However, he says he understands the concerns raised about the potential for damage to the environment and wildlife in the area. Father Bills in Mainspring of Quincy and Brockton will be receiving a $600,000 donation from Arbella Insurance to put toward their goal of ending homelessness. The Arbella Insurance Foundation recently announced it was awarding $300,000 to Father Bills in Quincy and $300,000 to Mainspring in Brockton. Father Bills Executive Director John Yazwinski said he was incredibly grateful, said he would put that donation toward their plans for a new housing resource center on Broad Street to replace the existing shelter. The proposal is for a day center, some efficiency apartments, and then a smaller emergency shelter. The state also recently granted $4 million toward that project. Father Bills is launching a campaign to raise another $7.5 million. Yazwinski says the donation to Mainspring will be used to transform an underused motel in Brockton into 69 units of permanent housing. Quincy School Superintendent Kevin Mulvey says he wants to fill 3 principalship positions with minorities this summer. The latest opening is at North Quincy High School, as today is Robert Shaw's last day on the job. Shaw has accepted a position outside the district after 21 years at North, the past 9 years as principal. Shaw was the assistant principal at North from 2009 to 2012 when he replaced Earl Metzler, who became a school superintendent in New Hampshire. Also, principals at the Lincoln Hancock and the Southwest Middle Schools are retiring this year, so Mulvey says he wants to fill all 3 openings this summer. Quincy police searching for a suspect or suspects in connection with a house break last month. Surveillance photos show the suspects near the Belmont Street home in the area of North Central Avenue in Wollaston on the evening of June 18th. Police say one of the suspects broke into the house when the resident left for a short period of time and stole some cash. A vehicle spotted in the photos is also believed to be involved. Anybody with any video or other information is asked to contact Quincy Police. Fireworks will light up the night sky over Quincy on the 4th of July, Sunday night. Once again this year, the Bay Point Waterfront Restaurant, formerly the Inn at Bay Point, will be hosting a fireworks display Sunday night at 9:15. The fireworks will be launched from a barge in the town river behind the restaurant. They'll be visible from areas all around Quincy Point, Howe's Neck, Germantown, Marymount, even North Weymouth. In addition, the restaurant will be hosting a reservations-only fireworks celebration. Owner Kevin Hines first sponsored fireworks on the 4th of July back in 2018 to celebrate the restaurant's 20th anniversary. They were canceled last year due to the pandemic. Coming up, Ken Berardi, Aquatics Director at the South Shore YMCA, is next. Welcome back with the 4th of July weekend upon us. Lots of folks will be seeking refuge at the beaches, although the weather's not going to really cooperate for that so much. Certainly has, though, at the beginning of the summertime, and there have been some tragic drownings. An unbelievable number, it seems, this year alone, over 24, actually, just since May in our region. So we thought we needed to focus on water safety, and who better to do that than the folks at the South Shore YMCA. Aquatics Director Ken Berardi is on a mission. The entire Y is on a mission, actually, to make Quincy a drowning prevention community. So Ken, thanks for coming over. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it.
Really timely topic. Fortunately and unfortunately, right? Fortunately, because we do have the skills to teach people how to swim.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Unfortunately, because a lot of folks are getting into the water that don't have those skills.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen an unprecedented amount of tragic drownings recently, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the families impacted by those. It's incredibly important that we really make a community push to ensure that people are getting the water safety swim lessons and water safety instruction that can help prevent tragic incidents like that. We believe that drownings are preventable through those means. And we are on a mission to provide that to as many people as possible and to make the community more aware of it and to make sure that it is a part of normal life, that swim lessons are a near requirement to life. They should not be a privilege. It should be universal for everyone to partake in swim lessons.
Especially we're in a coastal community, you know, in the summer months, a lot of folks, it's the number one, I'm sure, destination is going to the beach. What is the number one mistake that people make when it comes to water safety? You know, what aren't they doing?
Yeah, there's several big factors, but for children, one of the biggest things is asking permission before going into a body of water. If we can instill that at a very young age, that like putting on a seatbelt, as one of my colleagues says, it should be second nature to ask for permission before getting into any body of water. And then in combination with many other things, we need to make sure that there's supervision, and that comes from adults and the entire community at large, even on beaches or bodies of water that are protected by lifeguards. We need to remember that the lifeguards are a piece of the water safety community, but they cannot be relied upon 100% because it is all of our responsibilities to make sure that people are water safe, and that we need to make sure that everyone is a part of that safety team, so to speak, and never assume that someone else is watching.
Okay. That's good, and don't put all your, you know, eggs in one basket. It's one lifeguard for what, probably 100 yards of beach with hundreds of people to keep an eye on, right?
Absolutely, and they're trained to scan over 10 seconds their area of protection. So there is moments where they're not looking at an individual person.
Yeah.
They're not babysitters, so to speak. They are there for emergency purposes. And we want to make sure that parents and the community, when you're ever around a body of water, never assume that someone else is going to take care of it for you. You should all be paying attention, watching the people in the water, whether it be children or adults, and looking for the very subtle signs of drowning.
Which are not what you'd expect they would be, right? It's not like a Hollywood movie.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yes, Hollywood unfortunately sometimes desensitizes us to what drownings actually look like or sound like. They're often portrayed as loud, thrashing, splashing incidents. And unfortunately, most cases, drownings are near silent, minimal to no splashing, and they simply slip under the water and are not able to communicate that they're in distress.
Yeah.
And that is why supervision is incredibly important in those scenarios.
We've seen a shortage of lifeguards, some incentives that are, being thrown out there to try and attract folks to take those positions. Are you seeing the same situation at the Y in terms of instructors?
Absolutely,
Really?
yeah. So we've had a shortage due to this past year and everything that we've gone through
Yeah.
with COVID-19 and the staffing problems that have come from that. But nationally, there is a shortage of qualified lifeguards and swim instructors, and it is incredibly important to us to make sure that we are keeping our bodies of water safe. And the state has done a very good job with getting lifeguards in positions to keep the bodies of water safe as well. And in particular with swim instructors, we encourage the community to be a part of the water safety process. And what better way than to become a swim instructor to give back to the community. We believe that anyone can become a swim instructor through training, and that they can give back to their community in a very positive way that can save lives.
What programs are offered at the Y?
So we offer a plethora of programs for people to partake in swim lessons or water safety instruction.
Oh, okay. So you actually will train folks to be water safety instructors?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's part of our education process within our swim lesson program as
Okay.
well, teaching a lot of the things that we just discussed about asking permission and things. So the South Shore YMCA Swim Academy, in partnership with Powers Aquatics, starts as early as 2 months old. And
2 months?
2 months, yes,
Wow.
getting them in very quickly. You're never too young to start swim lessons, and you're never too old as well.
Yeah.
We want to encourage everyone to partake in swim lessons and water safety. So we offer parent-child swim lessons through the South Shore YMCA Swim Academy in partnership with Powers Aquatics from ages 2 months to 36 months. And we have our swim academy lessons from 3 years to 6 years for our preschool and 6 years to 12 years for our youth. And then we have adult lessons that go from 13 to infinite.
Okay.
And we have had 90-year-olds in our program before
Wow.
that have learned to swim at that age.
For the first time?
For the first time.
Wow.
Most of them are people who have experienced a traumatic incident as a child in the water and were too fearful to go back in.
Yeah.
And they made that decision very late in life to try again.
Okay.
And they were very happy that they did.
Yeah.
But we believe that no matter how old you are, no matter where you are on that age range, and for parents especially, if you think it's too late for your child to learn swimming, which we see a lot for 8, 9, 10, up to 14 years old, parents think, well, it's too late. It's never too late.
Yeah.
We need to get these kids into swim lessons and, again, the water safety instruction and teaching kids how to be safer around water and making sure that they become a part of the water safety community.
Well, I would think the more people that know how to be safe around the water, the safer the water is going to be, right? If you have a beach full of folks who've been through, say, the academy and know what to look for, then they essentially are lifeguards, right, at that point.
Yes, more or less. I
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily say they're
Or
lifeguards.
they could recognize a problem and notify a lifeguard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. It's recognition, seeing a problem and being able to communicate to someone and call for help.
Right.
So we
Yep.
have a process that we call call,
Yep.
reach, throw, don't go.
Yes.
And that process is incredibly important to make sure that we are keeping bodies of water safe. And the call is to make sure that if someone is having trouble in the water and you're going to try to assist them, that you communicate that to a lifeguard or any other adult or somebody to make sure that they can call 911 or just communicate with as many people as possible to get as many hands on deck, so to speak.
Time is critical, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every second counts in a potential drowning situation. And early intervention is incredibly important
Yep.
for the ability to have a positive outcome.
You need to get CPR going if that's needed immediately, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
encourage adults, ages, and not even adults, ages 14 and up, really, and as early as we can get them in, to take CPR, first aid, AED certifications. And we do offer those at the YMCA. And we believe it's very important for as many people as possible to be able to have that certification and know those skills. We hear stories all the time around the country of people that are at pool parties and
Yes.
a tragic incident happens.
Yep.
And thankfully, we sometimes see that there are people at those pools that know CPR and are able to make a life-saving decision to step in and use that.
After they've
learning.
called.
Of
Right.
course.
Yeah.
Yes. of
Call,
course.
reach, throw, don't go. So don't become a victim yourself, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The reach and throw is incredibly important, especially for young people, and this is part of our water safety instruction that we do, making sure that we are reaching out, preferably laying on our bellies when we do it,
Oh.
because we don't want to be pulled in ourselves.
Okay.
If you're standing without a strong stance, you can be pulled in. So a low center of gravity,
to
laying
know.
flat, reaching out with something to the person that's struggling to try to pull them into the wall or pull them into an area
To the
where they
beach
can
or-
stand.
Right, yeah.
And if they're unable to grab that, that's when something would have to escalate from there.
Okay.
And if they're too far and you don't have an object that can reach far enough to them, we throw an object, something that floats, that they're going to be able to grab onto to temporarily give them some assist so that we can get more help to them.
Just keep
as
their
soon
head
as
above
possible.
water, basically, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. A
And-
beach ball, a cooler, and a flotation device, ideally. but-
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's really important that we teach people not to go if you are not certified or trained
Yeah.
to be able to handle that.
Yeah.
Tragically, a lot of the things that we see are what we call multi-victim situations where someone goes to try to assist somebody that is drowning.
Yes.
And the natural instinct for somebody that is in the process of drowning is almost superhuman strength. They will cling on to anything that they can get their hands onto, and often that's the person trying to save them.
Yeah.
And lifeguards, for instance, people probably see them wearing the tubes. They have lifeguard tubes which can support varying weights, but around 200 pounds of weight to assist with the rescue.
Okay.
But if people aren't prepared for that person to grab onto them, it can quickly become a multi-victim situation.
Yeah, we saw that with the police officer out in Worcester, unfortunately.
Yes, very
so
tragic.
How do you kind of assess somebody's swimming abilities, Ken? When you somebody first comes to you, how do you kind of determine the benchmark for where they are and where they need to be?
Yeah, we have different subcategories, so to speak, of swimmers when we identify them. We, at the Social YMCA, have kind of a pre-screened list for parents to go over to be able to identify what levels their children should be in. And really it's split into non-swimmers and independent swimmers, as we call them. Independent swimmers doesn't necessarily mean that they are water safe, but it means that they can at least self-propel them and keep their heads afloat. And we break it down like that so that we can get them in a swim level that is most effective for their learning and what they need to progress and learn next. And the first things that we teach are how to save themselves if
Yes.
they ever accidentally fell into a body of water.
Right.
We teach a skill called swim, float, swim. And that is a very basic skill of swimming with your head up for as long as you can, or moderately, until you feel tired, and then rolling on your back to recover, floating on your back.
Right. Yeah.
And that is incredibly important for people to understand, because if we can train that at a very young age to people, they will be able to help themselves while there is help on the way
Yep.
to them. And
Yep.
we train them to also come back to the edge or the wall or the beach in that process. So as they do swim, float, swim, they are also returning to a safe position.
Okay. Okay. It's key. It's key. How important is it for somebody to know their own abilities, in the water?
It's incredibly important. Too often we see people who maybe haven't been in the water often enough, or in this particular case this past year, have long stretches of time in between water excursions, so to speak. And as well, we need to see people be honest with themselves when it comes to swimming, because we don't want people to be going into a body of water that are weak or not the strongest swimmers in the world. It's important for them to identify that, okay, I need to be in an area that is supervised, or I need to be with other people, or I need to stay in a shallow area.
Right. Yep.
And when it comes to boating or sports water activities, wearing personal flotation devices that are U.S. Coast Guard certified. And we really want to get the message out to the community that do not swim in areas that are not made for swimming,
Yes.
or that are not designated swimming areas. A lot of the drownings that we are seeing are in areas that there are steep drop-offs.
Yep.
That are either marked or unmarked, and people wade out into the water and then they quickly drop off and it's in over their head, and they think that they're able to stand and everything's okay, but then one step in the wrong direction unfortunately can end in tragedy.
Right.
We want to encourage people to be aware of that.
Yeah, just yesterday the governor put forth some legislation to increase fines as hopefully a deterrent, for folks who are swimming in undesignated areas. It's something. I mean, it'll if nothing else, call attention, to the issue. Whether or not it's effective or not remains to be seen. But something a lot of folks don't take into account is the impact of substances that they may be using or drinking before they go into the water, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. I was just reading an article recently about how a lot of young adult drowning incidents, 25 to about 50% of them involve drug or substance of some kind, or alcohol. And that is because of obvious impairment to their decision and physical ability, and they potentially put themselves in a very risky situation that their bodies are not 100% able to be safe
Right.
with.
Yeah.
And we want to encourage people to be incredibly safe, particularly this weekend. Historically, the 4th of July weekend, as we're all celebrating Independence Day and going out and seeing our family and our friends and groups and gatherings, to make sure that we are being as safe as possible, and know that if you are enjoying yourself, just be as safe as possible, and maybe avoid swimming if that's what you're partaking in this weekend.
Something else folks don't take into account, I think, especially around here, especially this time of year, is the water temperature in the ocean, and as you mentioned, the underwater topography as well. But cold water, what happens to your body, when you get into a cold body of water?
Yeah, there's several things that can happen in cold water that are very detrimental to your swimming ability.
Yeah.
Initially, when you first enter cold water, there's almost a gasp reflex.
That's right.
If you
Yeah.
enter too quickly, and you can actually inhale water very quickly if you are suddenly in cold water. You'll gasp and breathe in water. other than that, your body starts to react very quickly to cold water, especially around here in New England, where we know our water.
This is not Bermuda, so yeah.
And what happens is your muscles start to seize up.
Yep.
Your brain starts to shut down, and you can't make logical decisions, and your body will just not work the way you want it to, and it will slow down to the point where you can't keep yourself afloat anymore. Hypothermia is very common in these water temperatures around here as well. So it's very important to understand the water temperature that you're going to be going in, as well as the air temperature as well. That is an incredibly important factor. And even when you get out of the water, hypothermia can be an issue if the air temperature is not very high.
You know, we've all got out and started shivering because it's been so cold. Absolutely. Call, reach, throw, don't go. I want to really emphasize that.
Absolutely.
And ask permission before you go into the water for children.
Absolutely.
Those two big things. Are there openings still at the aquatics programs at the Y?
So there are some openings.
Okay.
We are seeing a very large amount of registrations right now. My goal this week is to open up more programming for swim lessons, and in the process bringing back a lot of more instructors.
Great.
To make sure that we're having the programs available to the community, and keep checking back in. I will always try to add more and more classes. We do not want to have any barriers, whether it be not enough classes available or finances. Even as you know, the South Shore YMCA is a charitable organization, and we are committed to breaking down financial barriers for life-saving programs like swim lessons.
That's great. Good luck in making Quincy a drowning prevention community, especially this weekend.
Thank you, Joe.
Appreciate it, Ken. Good to talk to you.
I appreciate you having me on.
You're very welcome. Just enough time to take another look at the forecast for you. Not really conducive to beach weather right now, at least. It's going to be kind of a raw, damp afternoon. Temperatures in the low 60s with off and on showers. Same thing for tomorrow. Could be some heavier downpours, actually. Still pretty cool. A little better on Sunday and much better on Monday. Thanks again, Ken Berardi, for joining us from the South Shore YMCA. Thank you to our crew, and thank you for watching. We're off, by the way, on Monday for the Independence Day holiday, so we will catch you next Friday on another edition of Currently in Quincy. Until then, have a happy and safe Independence Day.